Sprinkles, Santa Claus's special elf, because everything is special with sprinkles. Santa Claus knows you're special too, and he has something to say to you. So listen close as Santa Claus shares holiday cheer with you. You can leave a special message for Santa Claus and get on the nice list at www.santaclaussays.net. Now here is the big man himself, Santa Claus!
Ho, 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 Merry Christmas to all the children of the world from every continent, every nation. They come to see Santa Claus and share your Christmas wishes and what is exciting in your life as we're getting closer and closer and closer to Christmas Day. And that is our big day, isn't it, here for Santa Claus and for you, the children of the world. Welcome to Santa Claus Says, where Santa Claus says, be good for goodness sakes. And Santa Claus Says is here to share with you three things to give you Christmas cheer. And our elf Sprinkles helps us with that, doesn't she? And to tell you a wonderful Christmas adventure story. And we're continuing our reading of our story called The Life and the Adventures of Santa Claus. And to have a letter to Santa. We want to remind you that you can always send me a message at santaclaussays.net, and that is the place where you send me a message. And you can send me a message by voicemail, and I get those voicemails. You can send me a message by text, and I get my text messages right here on my purple cell phone. And then you could also send me an email, and you send your email to santaclaussays.net/present, and I will send you a present in your email. Now, a couple of reminders that this coming Saturday, December 23rd at 9 o'clock a.m., we have a very special Breakfast with Santa Claus live. And that is over at YouTube. And we have all of our shows are on YouTube and Facebook and on the podcast at santaclaussays.net and Apple Podcast. But on YouTube at youtube.com at Santa Claus Says is where we can have a live breakfast with Santa. And Santa will have his hot cocoa and my cookies, which is what I have for breakfast. And I also have it when I come to your house on Christmas Eve, so leave those out for me. And then I also will be telling some stories, some very special stories, and we'll be telling some jokes and having some fun and talking about some special things to do. That's 9 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time, so you need to adjust your time zone wherever you're at in the world to be there. And you can always hear it later on the replay at Santa Claus Says on both YouTube and on Facebook, and on the podcast at santaclaussays.net. Now, we're here for you to listen to you every day. We love you. We also want you to know we have some other special times together. On Christmas Eve, December 24th, we'll be having a very special reading of the book, The Night Before Christmas. We will have that book read on Christmas Eve, December 24th. And then on Christmas Day, December 25th, coming up very soon now, we will read the first Christmas story from the Bible about the birth of Jesus, because Christmas is the birthday of Jesus Christ. So that's what we're doing here at Santa Claus Says, and we hope that you'll join us as we come together. Well, there's our Glockenspiel, boys and girls, which is a reminder from Sprinkles that it's story time. We have been reading the story, The Life and the Adventures of Santa Claus by L. Frank Baum, all this Christmas time. If you've missed any of the episodes of this book, which comes to us by the good folks at the Gutenberg Project, then you can go back and listen to the other episodes we have on Facebook and on YouTube and on the podcast and get the full story there. But we're finishing up the story over the next few days. And today, the story has to do with the Christmas Eve itself, and about what Santa Claus did on the first Christmas Eve. So we started this chapter, the episode prior to this one, and we'll finish up this chapter on the next episode. But today is the middle section of this chapter about Christmas Eve. And so let's begin. Where we left it off at is Santa Claus was getting ready to get on his sledge and go to visit the children of the world. Here's how the story goes. Let's begin. Since you all will urge me to grant the favor, I will permit the deer to go with Claus once every year at Santa on Christmas Eve, provided they always return to the forest by daybreak. He must select any number he pleases, up to 10, to draw his sledge, and those shall be known among us as reindeer, to distinguish them from the others. And they shall bathe in the pool of Neres, and eat the casa and graal and marbon plants, and shall be under the especial protection of the fairy queen. And now cease scowling, Will Canuck, for my words shall be obeyed. He hobbled quickly away through the trees to avoid the thanks of Claus and the approval of the other immortals, and Will, looking as cross as ever, followed him. But Ak was satisfied, knowing that he could rely on the promise of the prince, however grudgingly given, and Glossy and Flossie, that's two of the deers, ran home, kicking up their heels delightedly at every step. When is Christmas Eve? Claus asked the master. In about 10 days, he replied. Then I cannot use the deer this year, says Claus thoughtfully, for I shall not have enough time to make my sack full of toys. The shrewd prince foresaw that, responded Ak, and therefore named Christmas Eve as the day you might use the deer, knowing that it would cause you to lose an entire year. If only I had the toys the Aguas stole from me, said Claus sadly, I could easily fill my sack for the children. Where are they? Asked the master. I do not know, replied Claus, but the wicked Aguas probably hid them in the mountains. Ak turned to the fairy queen. Can you find them? He asked. I will try, she replied brightly. Then Claus went back to Laughing Valley to work as hard as he could, and a band of fairies immediately flew to the mountain that had been haunted by the Aguas and began a search for the stolen toys. The fairies, as we all well know, possess wonderful powers, but the cunning of Aguas had hidden the toys in a deep cave and covered the opening with rocks so no one could look in. Therefore, all search for the missing playthings proved in vain for several days, and Claus, who sat at home waiting for news from the fairies, almost despaired of getting the toys before Christmas Eve. He worked hard every moment, but it took considerable time to carve out and shape each toy and to paint it properly so that on the morning before Christmas Eve, only half of one small shelf above the window was filled with playthings ready for the children. But on this morning, the fairies who were searching in the mountains had a new thought. They joined hands and moved in a straight line through the rocks that formed the mountains. It began at the topmost peak and working downward, so that no spot could be missed by the bright eyes. And at last they discovered the cave where the toys had been heaped up by the wicked Aguas. It did not take them long to burst open the mouth of the cave, and then each one seized as many toys as he could carry, and they all flew to Claus and laid the treasure before him. The good man was rejoiced to receive, just in the nick of time, such a store of playthings with which to load the sledge. And he sent word to Glossy and Flossie to be ready for the journey at nightfall. With all the labors, he had managed to find time since the last trip to repair the harness and to strengthen the sled so that when the deer came to him at twilight, he had no difficulty harnessing them. Well, let's hit the pause button there, boys and girls, and we'll continue our story on our next day, but this is getting exciting about all the preparations that are being made for Christmas Eve, and that's what Santa Claus is doing as well, making all kinds of preparations for Christmas Eve and looking forward to hearing from you, because that is what we do here at SantaClausSays.net. Indeed, there is our glockenspiel. That is our chimes that we are given that tells us now it is time for our letter to Santa. And we want to remind you that you can always send Santa a letter or by email at SantaClausSays.net present, or you can send me a voicemail or a text message at SantaClausSays.net. We'll look forward to hearing from you. Now, here is our letter to Santa for today. Dear Santa, how are you? How is Rudolph? Well, thank you for asking. I appreciate that. Rudolph and all the reindeer are doing wonderfully, and they're getting ready for Christmas Eve. I want a ventriloquist doll. I want it to talk to me by itself. Ho, 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 ho. And make it big. Ho, 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 ho. And make it a girl. Ho, 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 ho. Love, Linda. Well, Linda, what a wonderful request. And we'll see. But Santa loves to bring surprises, and that's what Santa loves to do, is bring you surprises. And we'll see about the ventriloquist doll. But I just love that you made that request and that you are such a wonderful little girl. You are on the good girl list, and we look forward to being with you on Christmas Eve. Remember, boys and girls, to leave Santa Claus hot cocoa and cookies, because that is my favorite thing. Well, boys and girls of the world, that is our glockenspiel, that is our chimes, where Sprinkles is telling us it's about time to say goodbye for this episode of Santa Claus Says. We want to remind you that this coming Saturday, December 23rd, at 9 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time, we have Santa Claus Says live Breakfast with Santa on YouTube. We hope that you'll join us there on YouTube. You go to youtube.com at Santa Claus Says, and you can find me there. And we'll have breakfast together, and bring your own pancakes or whatever you're having for breakfast, and we'll tell some stories. We'll have some jokes and some fun, and maybe even some special guests. You never know, because we like to have fun here. Remember, you can always reach out and find SantaClausSays.net on the podcast at SantaClausSays.net or on Apple Podcast. You can also find me on YouTube and on Facebook at Santa Claus Says. We look forward to seeing you next time, boys and girls, as we continue our stories about Christmas time here on Santa Claus Says. Remember to reach out to me, because Santa Claus loves you and listens to you. So until next time, boys and girls, remember that Santa Claus says, be good for goodness sakes. Merry Christmas. Goodbye.
You're special to Santa Claus, just like Sprinkles. Get on Santa's nice list at SantaClausSays.net and watch Santa Claus Says on YouTube. Tell him Sprinkles sent you.